Hello everyone, I'm Leandra from PaperArtsy, and this video is to show you our first release for 2017 from Lin Brown. And Lin started on a whole different tact in 2016. She started off with these amazing stamps, 29 and 30, ELB 29 and 30, which were a completely different style to what she's done in the past. And they're really fantastic collage elements. And she's continued on in that vein. She's added to these with these beautiful stencils, and you'll probably realize that these stencils are actually a larger format. They're 6.5 inches wide, 9.5 tall, so they're a much larger format, which is really well suited to your journaling or work on canvas. These are beautiful with grunge paste and various other wet media through the stencils. It's quite a hefty mylar, so it's very durable and quite stands up to, you know, putting all kinds of tricky products through stencils. So they're gorgeous, and let me show you the new stamps, which are in keeping with what she was doing in 2016. So this is plate 31. And here's a beautiful sample from Ruth Mescal, who's done some gorgeous, very minimalist work. And it's nice to see this because sometimes white space isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you're working with a collage style stamp. So it's really lovely to see she's made her own strips of background paper, layered those up, taken a nice print of this stamp with some fresco paint, and then layered the leaves on top, and just a little smattering of sparkle on top of those leaves just gives it a bit of a lift. This gorgeous sample here is by Stewart, who was the second person helping Lin with her projects and lovely samples to support the stamps. And again, she's used a really cool fresco background, some stitching on there, and just layered up the leaves. She had the same idea as Ruth, layering them on top of this cool background stamp. This one here is by Lin Brown herself, and she's also added a touch of metallic into that background. You can see this stamp here has been used with paint, metallic paint, just there in the background, and it just picks up and just gives that lovely little bit of lift. And then the leaves, they're just gorgeous skeleton leaves. They're so useful whether you're layering them up. And look at this example that Lin's created. So she's painted on the reverse of acetate and then given a bit of movement to these leaves and layered them up beautifully. Typical Lin, the colour scheme on this, lovely blues, greens and autumnal tones. It's just stunning. And then a couple more from the stamp set from Lin. So she's got that lovely skeleton leaf there, and look at how lovely and metallic that is. And then just little things like this. She's put little elements, bit of sort of bling and some pearls on top of that lovely sort of tractor tire type stamp at the bottom there. And here's another simple tag layered up. Could be used on a card front or a journal cover. So that's set 31. Set 32, more leaves, so it's very similar, follows along in the same vein, so you can see all of these elements are just going to mix and match so perfectly. This is another one from Ruth. Again, she's used this beautiful sort of layout with the old book paper in the background, and then she's got her embossed butterfly, this lovely little element here. This one's from Kath. So I really like she's created quite a bit of structure to her background here, using the spots in a very geometric way. And then this other element here, you see all of these elements are trimmed out onto easy mount, so they just pick them up and good to go. And then she's created a little tag that's layered over the top there. The leaves look really striking in black stamped on top of that. Here's a sample from Lin Brown. She's got corrugated card in the background, which is one of her favourite things to do. For years she's been working with corrugated card. She loves tearing it and the texture that brings. And she's got the softness of some fabric in there. And then she's actually stamped here on top of this, and it's beautiful. You see that sort of Hessian stamp here. It's stamped in the background in blue and the leaf on top. Very, very simple layering techniques, but very effective. And another one, again, Lin does a lot of work with fabric, and so she likes to have that sort of contrasting element in there in her work. And the leaf, stamping the leaf onto black card with your opaque fresco paints is just a fantastic way to make them really pop. So you stamp them, and then when you cut out, you've got that lovely black edge, which is very striking. Here's plate 33. This one's from Ruth, so it's much more soft and subtle, and she's stamped and embossed these leaves, and layered them up, cut them out, layered them up. And this is a triptych from Kath. So this lovely wheat sheaf here has been stamped, and she's got some really lovely textural elements, and that's what these stamps offer. All of these different textures, when you stamp them out, you just create a textural background with absolute ease. So you can just switch up your paint or ink and create amazing looking layered backgrounds without any problem at all. Here's one from Lin. There's that lovely stencil in the background, and if you go onto her blog, you'll see examples of how to work with that stencil. And that's another lovely layered up piece. And I love the colours in this one. So just by stamping that element in different coloured paint makes it look, you know, much more busy than just that single piece there. So that's a lot of fun. She's also brought one of the stamps in from one of the other sets, and that leaf also is from another set. That's actually stamped onto a very fine fabric, and it's actually got some wadding behind it, and then she's stitched on top, so it's actually quite dimensional and quite puffy. Here we go, the final stamp set. This piece here from Ruth. So she's stamped this lovely large element. So you see this big round geometric stamp here. She has stamped that into Uti and then highlighted it with treasure gold to just, and some black paint down, or she probably stamped it with black ink actually, to just really give the detail down in the depth of that as you press into the hot Uti. And then the treasure gold on top just gives it a lovely highlight. But her background is just so beautiful. Lots of layers, lots of depth, and lots of textures created with all these stamps. Gorgeous one from Kath. And Kath's obviously masked off some layers here with tape and then applied paint. Really great splattering going on, and the contrasting pop and colour is really striking. And here's a final sample from Lin. So there's a hinge on here on the stamp set, and that's what she's used there. So just by stamping and embossing with some metallics, it looks like a real hinge. It's amazing in real life. Just even touching it, it's so textured, it's lovely. She's got some little brads on there in the holes from the hinge. And then you can see she's brought in stamps from other stamp sets as well, and then just layered up. It's nice to sort of have that a skeleton leaf in there, because it just mimics the fact that we've got skeleton leaves going all the way through these stamp sets. So beautiful samples from Lin and from Kath and Ruth. If you'd like to see more details of those, there's a link to the PaperArtsy blog post in the description of this video. Do follow that through to go to the blogs, and you'll also find on that blog post a link to all our stockists of these stamps. They're available now. Do support your local independent retailer, and we'll see you again very soon with another 2017 release.